Well, welcome to Governor's office.
Yeah, I'd like to extend my gratitude for you accepting this interview. It's a once in a lifetime opportunity, and we are very
glad you guys could come. Appreciate it.
So, you just want to dive right into it?
Yeah.
All right. So, Governor, who were your biggest influences in your life when you were young?
Well, I think for me, my parents and my 4 grandparents. All my grandparents lived in a small village where I grew up in, Yellow Springs, and so they were certainly a big influence. And I think some of my teachers, I had one English teacher, and she was influential, American history teacher. So, those were certainly some of the people that had an impact on me.
What values or lessons did your parents instill in you that you still carry today?
Well, our family ran a small seed company, so we were a wholesale company that sold seeds to farmers' elevators, and then in turn sold them to farmers, and so it was a small business. So if you're in a small business, one of the things that you have to do is work very hard. And so I started working at the seed company probably when I was 12 years old, 13 years old. And so I think the work ethic, and it's very, very important. I think another thing that I took away from that experience is you have to take care of your customers. So for me, it's my constituents, but you have to try to help them with whatever problem they have. I remember my grandmother, she was on the phone, she ran the office, and many times she'd get some of the customers that call and say, well, we need so many bags of this seed, or so many bags of that seed, and she'd make sure that they got it by the time that they needed. So it's that kind of customer service, as well as that work ethic.
All right. What originally inspired you to run for public office position?
Well, nobody in my family was ever ran for public office, no one in my immediate family. But, they talk about current events, they talk about what was going on in government, at the dinner table, other times. So I think, my family was always interested in government. I got involved almost by chance. When I got out of law school, actually between my second and third year of law school, I worked for a lawyer in Greene County, and then he turned around and actually ran for prosecuting attorney and won. And so after I graduated and passed the bar exam, he offered me a job as an assistant county prosecutor. So I started my career as an assistant county prosecuting attorney, and then from there I ran for the job of prosecutor. So that's how I first got into elected office.
So you've been in a lot of positions, right?
Yeah, quite a few.
What values did you learn the most at law school, would you say?
Well, I think in law school, what you find, or at least what I found, is it sort of teach you to think a different way. I mean, you think in the sense of how you analyze problems, and you have to apply the law and find out how the law actually works to a set of facts or a set of circumstances. And so that practice for 3 years in law school, you kind of look at things a little differently. I think there's many different backgrounds for elected officials. I served with a guy who was a heart surgeon. People have all kinds of different backgrounds, but being a lawyer, I think, gives you one perspective on things and helps you analyze things and do some critical analysis and critical thinking. So I think that's one of the things.
So, Governor, what do you like to do in your free time when you're not doing politics?
Yeah, so I like to spend time with my family. So, for example, this last weekend we drove out to Green Bay, Wisconsin, watched the Bengals play Green Bay. We had one of my sons was with me, and we had 3 grandchildren. So, we kind of combine doing things like that. We usually have family with us. So, we had some of the grandkids who were with us. We had a nice time even with Bengal loss. It was a good experience to that. So, we just like to do things together as a family. Sometimes we go fishing. This afternoon, for example, I'll leave a little early and go watch. I've got two of my grandchildren who are running cross country. One's in middle school, one's in high school, so I'll go to Springfield and watch them run late this afternoon. Things like that.
So would you say that your experiences, like, with your family running a small business, kind of turned you into like a family man each year?
Well, I don't know if that turned me into a family man, but certainly was a family business, and my grandparents, two of my grandparents were involved in it, my great uncle, my uncle, my mom, my dad. So, yeah, we kind of did that as a family. But I think, family is very important. I was actually an only child, but my wife was one of six. She and I met in first grade, had our first date in seventh grade. She decided to go to Miami University, so I kind of followed her there. And we got married between our second and third year in Miami. We had two children before we left Miami. So, our life has been really focused on really two things. One is, what I'm doing, in my job, running for office, but the other, of course, has been our family. Of course, a big focus on family.
Were there any mentors who guided you early in your political career?
We had a local county sheriff, and his name was Russ Bradley, and I kind of patterned how I campaigned after him because he was a real people person who would go out and knock on doors and talk to people, and he just, he was really about going out and meeting people. So I kind of took that as my political example, the person I actually followed and emulated what he did.
Okay.
What were some of the biggest challenges that you faced starting out in politics?
Well, I think the first challenge is you got to win, I ran against a guy who was the elected county prosecutor, so I was the challenger, he was the incumbent, so my wife and I, we went out and knocked on thousands and thousands of doors. The next job I had was state senate. I also ran against the incumbent, so that's always tough to run against a guy, a woman who's in office, and I was able to win that race. So I think the biggest challenge, the first phase is you gotta get there. You can't do the good that you want to do or change the things that you want to change unless you're actually in office. So to me, that's the biggest challenge.
So,
Come on, Don. Come on. Go ahead, come on. There, take your leash up for me. It's my dog, Dowdy. She follows me around. I was over giving the speech, so she had to stay there, so now she's back, she's found me. So. Go ahead.
if you wouldn't have gone into politics, what career path would you?
Well, what I thought I was going to do was I thought I was going to be a school teacher and teach social studies because I got my degree in education and I actually student taught in high school, but then didn't ever really teach because I went on to law school. So that's what I thought I was going to do.
What does being governor of Ohio mean personally?
Well, I've wanted to be governor for, decades. And the reason I wanted to be governor is because that's really where the action is. And you get the opportunity to really make a difference. I think the best thing about being governor is you can see a problem and you have the ability at least to work on it. Doesn't mean you always get everything done you want, but you have the ability to say, okay, I'm going to go work on this issue. And then you also, when the governor starts talking about issues, then everybody has to kind of focus on those issues. Again, they may disagree with you, they may agree with you, but if you're talking about it, you're focusing on it. So it's the ability to kind of say, these are important issues. We should be talking about this. We should address this problem. That's what makes it fun.
The groundbreaking ceremony that we had a few months ago at AHS, what really inspired you to go there, or what made you decide that you were going to attend the groundbreaking ceremony?
Well, I like to go to places that are doing innovative things, new things, particularly places where we've been involved in some way with some state money. one of the things you find is that the governor, by going someplace, can show people what's important. So sometimes we're going to schools where they've switched over to the science of reading, and we want to talk about that. Sometimes it's, we're going to schools where there's a new clinic that's been put in. But, the things that I am pushing for, when we see that occurring someplace, or we hear about it, then, I can't be everywhere, I can't go to every event, but if it kind of coincides with that and I'm able to do it, I try to do it.
What has been the most rewarding part of serving the people of Ohio?
Well, I think that, being able to see a problem and try to get things done. I mean, for example, when I was in the state senate many, many years ago, a grandfather came to me and his grandson had just been killed. He was a 7-year-old boy. A little boy got off his school bus literally in front of the school, and a guy riding, this is in the morning, a guy riding a motorcycle comes around, these two guys been drinking, and hit the little boy and killed him. So I never forget, the grandfather came to me and he says, you just need to try to do something so that other families don't suffer this. And so I researched all the drunk driving laws in the whole world, literally, and came up with a new drunk driving law in Ohio that was a tougher law. And we were able to get a pass. Now that law's been changed some since then, but I was able to take that grandfather's grief and his sorrow and turn that into something positive that we were able to, save lives. Distracted driving in Ohio. We wanted to make it what's called a primary offense. The way the old law was that no one can be charged with distracted driving, unless they're doing something else. So putting a focus on distracted driving, we've seen the auto fatalities from distracted driving go down. So these are the type of things that, as governor, you can focus on before the driving bill. That was when I was in the state senate. But in every office I've held, I've found that there are things that you can do that do impact people.
So, Governor, what has been your toughest decision that you've had to make while in office?
Well, I think the toughest decisions probably were decisions that we made during COVID. Because we didn't have a lot of information. We tried to get as much information as we can. But those were frankly the toughest decisions.
So with that and the COVID, how did you handle the criticism during that? And now, how do you handle the criticism from the media while you're governor?
Well, criticism is part of the job. And now, of course, with social media, people can post all kinds of things. That just goes out to the world. Look, that's part of the job. You've got to be willing to make the decisions and then stand by them and accept whatever the criticism is. It's kind of part of what we do. What else do
How did you balance your personal beliefs with what's best for your constituents?
I'm sorry, the public, how do you handle it?
Yeah, personal beliefs and how I balance that. I think that when you run for office, you don't know all the facts, you don't know what circumstances are going to come up, but you do sort of know what you believe. And so, for example, during COVID, one of the overriding concerns I had was people's safety. That's part of the job of the governor is to keep people as safe as possible. And so that was one of the basic things that I felt. I think that if you're an elected official, you can't always be taking the poll and decide, how am I going to do this? If I'm in the legislature, how am I going to vote? If I'm governor, what am I going to do based on what the public opinion polls are? Now, I have an obligation to hear people, what they have to say, and try to find out what people are thinking, But ultimately, the decision has to be mine. I'm the one that's been elected. I'm the one that makes the decision. And frankly, in many cases, I'm the one that's looking at all the facts. But my obligation to the public is to listen. Doesn't mean you got one person saying do this, one person saying do that. Well, obviously, someone's going to be upset, but that's just part of what we do. I'm supposed to listen, but ultimately the decision is mine. You won't hear me say, look, I made that decision because 51% of the voters in a poll I saw said that was good. That's not a good rationale. You have to ultimately make the decision yourself. Because I'm the one who got elected. What else, Dennis?
Governor, your next meeting is ready.
Okay, we'll give these guys about 5 minutes.
How do you stay connected with everyday Ohioans when leading the state?
Yeah, I'm out with people all the time. I mean, I don't just spend my time in my office or at my house. I mean, I'm out a lot. I'm out virtually every day. And if it's not an official event, I'm out, as I said, with cross-country meets, track meets. I'm out at softball games. My grandkids are playing all kinds of different sports. So I'm out all the time. And I see people all the time. And even this weekend, for example, when we went to Green Bay, Wisconsin, there was a bunch of Bengals fans there. I ran into a lot of them. And even ran into some on the rest areas on the way back. So we were driving back. So I'm out a lot. And that just, I think, keeps me grounded. I think the other thing that keeps me grounded, frankly, is grandkids. The oldest is 32, the youngest is 1. But just, talking with them, particularly the older ones, I can see what's influencing them. I have a better understanding of social media. I have a better understanding of some of the things that they're looking at, and some of the things that they're dealing with. So again, that's one of the ways I stay in contact with people.
So looking back on your career, is there anything you would have done differently?
Sure. I mean, we all have lists, I guess, in our head of different things that we would have done differently. I'm not going to get into them today, but sure, we all make mistakes. I mean, you can't make thousands of decisions. Thousands of decisions. And so some of these decisions you make, and later on you think, well, maybe I made the wrong decision. Yeah, part of life.
So finally, the last question I have for you, Governor, is what advice would you give to young people like us who want to truly make a difference?
Well, I think you can make a difference no matter what kind of job you have. There's no one job that, some jobs, obviously, you have more influence. If you're a teacher, you're going to impact thousands of kids during your career. If you're a nurse, you directly deal with patients every single day. But no matter what your job is, you can also be involved in, I'd say, in politics. It doesn't mean you have to run for office, but you can be involved as an informed citizen, showing up at the council meeting, showing up at the school board meeting. You can run for school board. I mean, the thing in Ohio is we have so many offices that are open that people could run for and serve in those offices, if that's the way they want to do it. But everybody has the opportunity some way to influence what's going on in their community. It could be as little as, going to the officials and saying, hey, this is a dangerous road out here. Can't you guys do something about it? Or we've got this problem here in school. All of those things are ways that people can be involved. So my recommendation is just be active, be engaged, keep thinking about what's going on. No matter what your job is, you can still talk to people in office, so you can run for office. There's no job that precludes you really from running for office. And sometimes you'll find there aren't too many people running for office. In school board, sometimes there aren't too many people running. Sometimes city council, sometimes they can't get enough people to run for council. So, you raise your hand, fill out the forms, and get the signatures, and you're on the ballot. Always great opportunities out there. What else?
This would be my final question, but if you could share any one message with the world that's the most important to you, what would it be?
Well, what we try every day and work towards, and I think the goal that everybody can have is we want everybody to live up to their full potential. And so that's why we focus a lot on education, we focus a lot on early childhood development. Those are things. Everybody, what I want for my kids, still do, but also my grandkids now, is for them to find something they can get into, something you get excited about. It doesn't matter what it is. It can be welding, it can be being a doctor, it can be all kinds of different things. Stuff you can do with your hands, it can be something that you do just with your head. What you find is with a lot of jobs that people say you use your hands, you certainly use your head even more, it's more than your hands. Whatever the job is, I want them to find something they really want to do and get excited about and like doing.
Can you share a moment when you truly felt you made a difference?
Yeah, I think I talked about the drunk driving bill. I thought we made a difference. When I was in Congress, I put a lot of focus on children's health issues. We got a law passed that really caused a lot of drug companies to do getting more drugs, pharmaceutical drugs, to save people's lives, having more of those tested for kids. Many times they weren't doing that because it cost too much money. We passed a bill that really push them to do that. So the lives were saved because of that. So it's that type of thing that you get done. And, in the case, for example, of the distracted driving or the drunk driving, I'll never know how many lives have been saved, but I do know statistically that, we're saving lives. Those people who would have been dead don't know that, and I don't know who they are, but when you can do something and you're saving lives and that continues year after year, that's something that it brings a lot of satisfaction.
All right.
Okay.